But fuel queues have resurfaced in many parts of the country, and motorists are lamenting the hike in the price of premium motor spirits. Here in Abuja, fuel queues began to grow since last week. All the filling stations visited so far are currently selling fuel to their customers, but the queues continue to grow. Long queues have resurfaced at filling stations across the Federal Capital Territory, growing gradually from last week, with some filling stations selling as high as 690 naira per litre. Some Nigerians say they have spent hours on queues, draining their time and energy, while others lament the high price of fuel. Many feel they have no choice but to go along with the increased price out of desperation.
It's unfortunate because it's a loss of man hours. Imagine the quantum of time that would have been using to do other jobs or our work or at our place of work. We've been on queue trying to get fuel, even at 650 naira per litre. So it's becoming unbearable, and I wish that all of this would change.
At this stage of fuel scarcity, you're not looking at price. You're not looking at whether the litre is complete or not. Your own is that you should have availability of fuel so that you can continue your work. But the truth of the matter is that anyhow we see, we collect.
They should find a lasting solution to this fuel issue. We shouldn't be suffering what we have already.
Other motorists say the fuel scarcity has affected transportation costs as well as their businesses. Calls for government intervention are growing, with some citizens urging the return of fuel subsidies and others questioning why the promised refineries are not operational yet.
The permanent solution is that let some of the refinery begin to work. And if the promise that they have made to the public, that they are going to bring back our refineries to work, even if it's one or two, let those fuel that is being refined in those places, let the people feel the impact, let them feel the effect.
If you don't pay sacrifice, if some don't pay sacrifice, others will not enjoy it.
I don't know. I thought that they said that by now the Port Harcourt refinery should be full operation, but I've not heard anything. I don't know what is happening.
Well, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, in a statement issued late Thursday, clarifies that the scarcity currently being experienced in some parts of the country is as a result of logistics issues and that they are being resolved. The company also reiterates that the prices of petroleum products are not changing. It urges Nigerians to avoid panic buying as there is a sufficiency of products in the country. The fuel scarcity in Nigeria has led to significant challenges for both the economy and the society. Energy experts say it is essential for the government to address the root causes of the situation as soon as possible. Georgina Ndukwezaika, Arise News.
Well, I would say it's embarrassing for the federal government and for the NNPC that such logistic issues would hold the state capital, the country's capital, at ransom. You're holding regular Nigerians going through hardship because you have these logistic issues which keep cropping out. And I think that was a really great report because she made a good point. They need to address the root issues. You can't say, okay, we have a bottleneck here, we had an issue here, and don't panic. You don't need to buy. The prices aren't going up. We've resolved the issue. Again, we need proactive governance, not reactive to issues. You know the issues are coming down the line, so you sort out the root problem. You don't wait for us to have queues. You don't wait for the federal, capital territory to be on it, have traffic and have lockdown and disrupt average people's life, because this also has economic ramifications and affects the average Nigerian. So I do think it's a bit embarrassing that they're having such logistical issues.
I mean, why are we still here? I was looking at a statement that was put on. They said, the reason for the shortage of supply and to Abuja and, of course, and neighboring states is still being investigated. And, that just, it's like, what are we investigating? Is it a situation where we're not having enough?
Is that a statement on Thursday by the NNPC?
Yes, on Thursday by the NNPC.
I thought they attributed it to logistics.
Yes, yesterday they attributed it to logistics.
They're talking about, they're trying to figure out exactly why they are having that issue and why it's affecting those states. Even on my way down to the office this morning, I could already see on Awolowo Road, it was already leading to panic buying. Even when I leave here, I'm probably going to go buy fuel myself, because it's one of those things where you go to bed and you wake up and before you know it, we're seeing fuel scarcity. There's also that conversation that has come up again as to when will our refineries start to work? When would we actually start to have, so that we can also regulate how much PMS is exactly. And it seems as if everything is still up in the air. I mean, we're seeing this motorists groaning. We're seeing an immediate rise in even the cost of fuel, even though that was not the landing cost, which is another point that really stands out for me. One thing I've seen with, petrol PMS retailers is that as soon as there's a bit of scarcity, they increase their pricing, regardless of what their landing cost was or how much it's cost even the day before. They just take advantage of that demand and supply that we're having currently. I don't think that's something that should be done. If once you're done selling your fuel, if you don't have any fuel anymore, then you close up shop. Then you, instead of trying to extort, Nigerians who are just about to just go on their own daily activities. But then again, I hope it doesn't last too long, and then it can be resolved as soon as possible, because what we see is when PMS pricing goes up, we see that it affects transportation, it affects food, it affects a lot of things down the line.
Well, you know that we're not sure about what the landing cost is. I mean, last weekend we had Joe Nwukwe here, who claimed that from all indications, the least that the landing cost will be is about 800 to 900. And if you now put up, mark up their gains and everything, it will be close to 1,000 naira. And therefore, his argument was that there's a form of subsidy being paid, either by the government or NNPC, but certainly, of course, not by the consumers who are still buying at about 600. But to the point, I think that you ladies have made, the point, pretty clear. It's embarrassing to Africa's largest oil producer that we have to go through this almost every time. And like you said, once there is any indication like this that there is trouble, the raise, the pump price, who's regulating that? Who's supposed to control that? It's not enough for NNPC to say that, we will investigate on the one hand and then blame logistics. What logistics? What is causing it? So how are you going to solve it? Why are you telling us rather than just fix it? Absolutely. and I think it goes back to the root cause, really, because we can't continue. From what people have said in that beautiful report, is that we're losing precious time, manpower and everything. But then this is coming at a time the NNPC is claiming to be signing an MOU to build another 100,000 barrel per day refinery within Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt, where you already have two, a combined total about 300 that neither is working. Contrary to the promise, raising our hopes, rather badly in December, that in 2 weeks' time, and you saw the flaring that they did, that, it's about to roar to life. This is April, almost ending, nothing to show that Port Harcourt is ready.
Stage managed.
And there's no communication as well.
Because there's nothing to communicate.
There's nothing to
what are they going to... there's a committee in the National Assembly that said that we discovered that it's not close at all, Port Harcourt, to giving us, petrol. So what have they been saying all this while? Why were they feeding Nigerians with lies? But they were feeding Nigerians with lies. They were feeding federal government, I believe, with lies, because the president's, hope agenda was based on the fact that in a few weeks' time, you guys will see that we mean business. Can we see the business now? It's a shame, really. And I think that, frankly speaking, the behemoth that NNPC represent, something needs to be done beyond the ordinary. We can't continue like this. As little, as minute as it might seem that this is just one of those things, we'll fix it in a matter of days. But in a matter of days, people are cashing out because of, the price adjustment that they have. But here we are. Let's hope that things will change. All right, we'll proceed. The chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoyede, says the anti-graft agency will not relent in combating corruption in the country. At a media parley in Abuja, the EFCC boss explains the commission's decision to prosecute former Kogi governor Yahaya Bello and former aviation minister Hadi Sirika. He says the economic watchdog is also looking at ways of tackling corruption challenges. Arise managing editor Christian Ogodo has a report.
Call it a treatise on the cesspool of corruption in Nigeria. The expose is not limited to political and public office holders, but to young teenagers who engage in cyber crime, popularly known as Yahoo Yahoo boys. They cost the Nigerian economy several millions of dollars.
Nigeria faced a staggering onslaught of cybercrime. This thing you call Yahoo Yahoo. Why you harassing all these small boys all over the place? It's not small. It's not small. 2022 alone, I'm waiting for the report of 2023. We discovered that more than 71% of Nigerian industries, companies and firms fell victim to cybercrime. More than 71% of these companies you see in Nigeria are operating. Now, which company is happy or will thrive on this kind of a thing? You want to attract foreign direct investment. The moment you come in, Yahoo boys will attack your platform. You start losing money. And you think they will stay?
On the botched arrest of the former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, whom the EFCC alleges to have stolen over 80 billion naira, the chairman says the fugitive Bello should turn himself in.
Honorable Justice Issa Jamin Abdullahi, a man I respect so much and I was so smart, a man. I will read to you the last 2-3 paragraphs of his judgment. Now, without prejudice to the power of the said Federal High Court to make any other as it may deem just in the determination of the rights of the applicant and the respondent as may be submitted to them, to her for consideration and determination. Another is hereby granted directing the respondent to bring before the said Federal High Court. It was Kogi State High Court that directed the EFCC enforcer to go and file a charge against him, as against what is being touted out there. Another is hereby granted to EFCC, the respondent, to bring before the said Federal High Court or any such appropriate court such criminal charge, allegation or complaint in respect whereof the applicant is reasonably believed by the respondent to have committed any offense subject of his jurisdiction, provided that his respondent shall not invite, arrest, or detain the applicant on account of a reasonable belief that the applicant has committed any financial crime without first obtaining the leave of a superior court of record, which is Federal High Court, where we are filing our charge, especially having regard to the antecedent of the respondent in the manner it has managed its engagement with the applicant. We are not stopping there. It's been watch listed all over the world. He can only run.
It will now be business as usual for illegal miners in the country as a specialized unit has been put in to rein in persons involved in illegal mining.
It's extremely important for all of us to understand some of these intricacies. Fighting corruption is not just for us to investigate and make noise, like some people want us to do. We have been doing it for years, even though we have recorded some successes, but has it really made much impact as expected? And the answer is no. In fact, it has not made much impact. Why can't we change our strategy? And that's exactly what we are doing now. And so I'm dedicating a whole directorate to undo that.
All right, Mr. Olukoide is vibing there, isn't it? A number of issues that they spoke about. I mean, they're basically everywhere. Spoke about the Yahoo Yahoo and the cybercrime thing, almost giving the indication that, like his predecessors, he will continue to hound and prosecute, those boys. A lot of people would think that, when it comes to Yahoo Yahoo, it's foreign money that they're after, but he's saying that, it's inimical to business growth. He spoke about Edis Erika. I think that that report probably didn't pick it, but he also spoke about Beta Edu, whose investigation is going on. I think I heard him say that, don't focus so much about an individual, it's about the systemic corruption and everything, But I mean, on Beta Edu, we know that this is almost going 4 months plus. The actual committee set up by the presidency is yet to give its report on what actually went down. That report is, is expected to be independent of what EFCC is working on. It spoke about, I believe, illegal mining and that it would devote an entire directorate into that. Let's hope so, because I mean, what happened in Ibadan lately, has anybody been apprehended? Who are we following up on? Things like that, you know. And then, of course, he spoke about the news of the day, you know, so to speak, about Yahya Bello. And, you know, almost personalizing, you know, as people have said. So much so that a few APC chieftains have said that it looks like, you know, vendetta, you know, to them. Something that the Yorubas will call Amuni Nje Amuni. I hope she's on.
Please, you have to.
Of course, I will. You know, basically saying that, you know, if you're a policeman and you've apprehended an alleged culprit, and then you are saying that you've been arrested and you are not going to escape this. No, just basically arrest and, you know, turn him over to the court. Definitely. It is not for you to decide whether you will be jailed or not. But people are saying that this is sounding more like vendetta, and it should allow the court, you know, to do its work. But hey, we will see how that pans out. Very briefly, Adeswa.
I think I agree with everything you said. We also need to depersonalize institutions. And I think it's good that we're hearing the EFCC do some of the work they're actually supposed to be doing, especially when it comes to financial crimes and electoral crimes. I do think we need more cohesive effort between our different security agencies, especially when it comes to the illegal mining. And our Minister of Soil Minerals is there, Dele Alake is there. You know, we do have our security, our army and everything. So there definitely needs to be a greater conversation had about this illegal mining and how it might be funding or fueling insecurity in certain regions of the country, especially, you know, in the northern parts and what we saw in Ibadan.
I mean, just to wrap it up very quickly, I think the biggest thing for me, for EFCC, I mean, we have about 31 former state governors that had, you know, kind of their cases had been taken up, and only 11 have actually seen their cases taken all the way through, with none of them being convicted at this point. So really and truly, it speaks to the body language of how serious they are in chasing down these criminals and making sure that there are actually consequences for their crimes. So it's not alleged criminals. I apologize. So if you are, if you are going for these people, don't just make it a media parley. Actually investigate and make sure you see it all the way through. But let's move quickly now to our next story. The search is on for scores of prisoners who escaped from a prison near the capital, Abuja, after rain damaged part of the building and brought down a perimeter fence. At least 118 prisoners managed to break free. The prison authorities said 14 inmates have been recaptured and a massive manhunt is underway to find the rest. Arise News security correspondent Ferdinand Dora reports.
Laborers work frantically to rebuild the perimeter fence destroyed during the jailbreak. Authorities say this part of the facility caved in during a heavy downpour. The affected area was then bulldozed by some inmates to escape the facility. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, is undertaking a tour to the center to assess the extent of damage. He apologizes for the lapses which enabled the jailbreak. The minister says a major reason for the security breach is the overcrowded state of the facility. Ojo laments that the facility built to house about 250 inmates held over 490 before the jailbreak. Many of them are waiting trial.
The manhunt is presently ongoing. We will do everything humanly possible to make sure that everyone is brought back.
The minister says plans will be expedited to complete custodial centers under construction so overcrowded facilities can be decongested.
And also, the president has also always been talking about urbanization eating into our correctional centers. And this is a clear testimony. You can look at the environment. It shows that we need to relocate a lot of our correctional centers and we need to relocate them away from city centers.
The medium security custodial center, Suleja, is located in the heart of the city. Analysts say the large population of the area threatens the security of the facilities. Some of the residents speak on the jailbreak.
It was last night, there was a heavy downpour. So as a result, the windstorm now fell the fence of the correctional service here. So at least it's true that medium they use to now break part of the wall. Over hundreds that came out of the building, which most of them now took this route. If you can see, there are a pair of shoes there, and here, these are their belongings.
When I saw the fence fall, just hook one room, they have been coming out. We have been helping them that do not run again. They are stoning us, we are stoning them. They were stoning. One of them, we told him to go and call the remaining security. We would try the best for them. We are there. Before you know, we hear gun. Pew, pew. We can't stay there. From there, we just run.
The residents say there is apprehension within the city due to fears some of the jailbreakers might begin to cause trouble.
We have been scared too much since yesterday. Some of our people do not sleep in these houses. They are relocated to our father's houses, our women, because of the scare that they have here.
Since 2015, there have been more than 14 documented cases of jailbreaks in Nigeria, with more than 8,500 prisoners escaping from different facilities. Sadly, many of these inmates are never recaptured, and some go back to perpetrate more crimes.
Now we are standing along a footpath just behind the custodial center that eyewitnesses say most of the escaped inmates made their way. Now, from available statistics, most of the recaptured inmates after jailbreaks are captured within the first 24 hours. It is past 15 hours after the jailbreak, and we hear that less than 10% of the inmates who escaped have been recaptured. Ferdinand Duroha, reporting from Suleja, Niger State.
Well, there you have it. I mean, that jailbreak was just, I mean, think about 118 people that have now just found their way back into civilization. And we're still waiting. It's been what? It happened on, I believe, Wednesday night, and it's Saturday, and we still don't have a concise list of those people that actually escaped from prison, which I find a bit worrisome, because I believe that as soon as you walk into, you're checked in or you are jailed, you must be documented. So are they still just looking for it? And I think on the back end as well, we've been talking about police reforms, but we still also need to look at the state of our correctional facilities, because I believe some of these men they think that this is the only chance that they have. If they have to escape, they don't care if maybe they're going to get into trouble or get shot or get their sentences extended, just because,
especially if they're hardened criminals.
They're hardened criminals. All they care about is escaping. So this is really a time for for us to kind of just buckle up and try and figure out exactly what the issue is here. But most importantly, we need to have the identities of those that have been able to escape, so that if they make their ways into neighborhoods and just surrounding parts of Suleja and even other states, they can be identified quickly and taken back to the prisons.
Yeah, I mean, well said. This clearly just shows that this is one area that the minister, Olubomi Ojo, will have to, also give a considerable amount of attention. Having recorded an appreciable success in the issuance of passports, even though there are still some gray areas in that aspect. But this is one area that he'll need to face, given the fact that in 2021 alone, there were about 7 to 8 jailbreaks all across the country. It will need to improve significantly from what his predecessor, achieved in that area. That was not a success area for his predecessor at all, and I think that he will need to focus it. This is not your regular, ordinary jailbreak. If that rain had not happened on the very old structure, and the part of the fence, had fallen down, maybe it will not have happened. But like you said, I mean, if you're hardened criminal and you are condemned and everything, any opportunity to want to escape, you want to give it, a try. So this is also about the message to what are the conditions of our correctional facilities. Yeah. We're not just talking about between 700 and 800 naira a day that you are using to feed the inmates, which is lower than what you are using to feed the dogs, by the way. We're talking about the quality, of the correctional services. Yeah. Maybe an endurance test will need to be, stress test will need to be conducted on, because if you say that people will want to move, who will not want to, that if there are no documentation, what kind of documentation should we expect from the sort of building that Ferdinand, was standing in front of? That, I mean, that looks like something from antiquity,
Definitely.
So, but I think that the minister spoke, to that part also, that this is something that they will need to begin to work on. And I think that there is sufficient document from even the NGOs who are devoted to issues like this on the areas that you need to concentrate on.
I also think beyond just the guilty or the hardened criminals, we also need to be cognizant of the fact and remind everyone that 70%, at least 70% of the people who are within Nigerian prisons are awaiting trial for years upon end, and it could be for petty crimes. So, the minister did talk about decongestion, but it's definitely something that needs to happen soon. So our next story, in other news making the rounds, the U.S. military has started building a floating pier off the coast with the intention of boosting humanitarian aid deliveries to thousands of refugees in Gaza. The pier is expected to be in operation by early next month. The plan was first announced by President Joe Biden in March as part of efforts to prevent famine in Gaza as Israel continues its war there.
Former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker will answer more questions about his efforts to suppress damaging information about Donald Trump during the 2016 election as the former president's criminal hush money trial continues on Friday. Mr. Pecker faces questioning from Trump's lawyers who have sought to illustrate that the tabloid's practice of bearing on flattering stories about famous people was well established before Mr. Trump ran for president. Mr. Pecker previously testified that he worked as President Trump's eyes and ears to suppress stories which could have hurt his presidential bid at a time when he was facing multiple accusations of sexual misconduct.
And here in Nigeria, organized labor is gunning for a 615,000 national minimum wage as it pushes the National Minimum Wage Committee to fast-track the conclusion of the process. President of the Trade Union Congress, Festus Osifo, disclosed this after the union's National Executive Council meeting in Abuja. It says the union wants the federal government to reconsider the new electricity tariff, saying an increase will have been more appropriate after improving infrastructure and equipment for better supply.